Umbasa, and welcome back to Gone Hollow. This is episode 4, and I'm Ryan Stevens. I would like to thank Justin Spear for sharing the joys of the Rat Covenant with us. Today we are going to look at the things that are subtly weird about Dark Souls 2. And first off is probably the crappiest weapon in the game, the Ladle. You get this from the young woman who, I forget her name, who is protecting the Firekeepers in Things Betwixt. If you kill the Cyclops, I don't know if you have to kill all 3 or just 1, she will give you her Ladle as a reward. It is incredibly weak, has bad durability, and even if you land like a backstab or like a parry, it's just not going to do a lot of damage. If you want to mess around with Mundane Ascension, I guess it's one of the weapons that it works well with, but that's a much later game thing to check out. Not incredibly weird, because they've been in this sort of game before, but I love mimics, and I wanted to just take the time to let everyone know that if you have killed all the mimics immediately because you attack every chest that you find, you should really let one just kind of spawn and run around. I would say they're a little less dangerous than in the past, but they look a lot cooler. I like their little eyes. They're kind of like little dogs now instead of giant punters before. And I don't mean that in a British way. I mean that in a way where people punt footballs or soccer balls or something like that. And, you know, another old school trick that works on them is you can use Lloyd's Talisman to put them to sleep and then just grab their little goodies. Lloyd's Talisman is one of those items that you would think maybe would be useful in PvP because it stops the other person from using Estus, but people tend to forget about it, and it's pretty expensive and rare. But it's fun to use on the mimics and get a little more joy out of my favorite little enemy. Here's one that I figured out by just messing around. In the Lost Bastille, there's this barrel that you probably have used to blow up and open up the secret passage to Macduff's workshop. I was really into log rolling as a child. No, that's not true, but I like jumping around and stuff and just being a goof. And I found out that you can kind of jump over the barrel, and if it has a little bit of velocity on it, the physics system goes a little haywire, and sometimes you get thrown really, really far, and then sometimes there's even some extra like inertia drag on you, and you'll kind of get, even if you're at a standstill, get kind of pulled into the world. It's a fun thing to mess around with. I'm not sure if any speedrunners would use this for inglorious means to shave off a couple seconds or anything like that, but the physics in the game are definitely a little wonky at times, and this is just one of the little fun things just to mess around with, and I don't know, it just looks funny. It's fun to do. Check it out. And finally, the Grave Warden was one NPC I wasn't able to really talk to my first time playing the game because I found my Torchbearer. If anyone's into playing old school pen and paper RPGs, I think there actually is a pen and paper offshoot called Torchbearer now, but you know, if your DM, your dungeon master, was a stickler, you would have to make sure you had a torch in one hand and while you're fighting with your sword or your mace or whatever, and it'd be a big pain in the butt, so you'd hire an NPC to carry a torch when you went into a dungeon or a cave or something like that, and he was your torchbearer. You gave him, you know, 2 pieces of silver or something like that. In the Undead Crypt, there is one of those tattooed undead hollows, and if you don't attack him, he won't attack you, and he's carrying a torch, and he will actually follow you like an obedient little dog through that area. But the troll here is in the next, it's only a couple a couple of rooms, and then the next area has the Grave Warden, who says if you bring in light, you know, you'll be damned or something like that, and he goes completely aggro. So you may want to kill the Torchbearer beforehand, but I thought it was a nice little touch. I know it's pretty easy to miss because you see an enemy and you try to kill him, and I just happened to realized he wasn't really aggro when I first played, and you know, took him through, weaved him through the sorcerers and whatnot into the Grave Warden's room, and then aggroed him and all of his buddies and missed out on some stuff, but I thought that was the kind of weird little side things that make the game so interesting.
May you find your peace one day.
I wanted to talk about a special spear this week, but we're still having trouble unlocking its special potential, so we'll save that for another week. So, as usual, may your titanite always twinkle and your stones be silky smooth.
Life is never easy, never fair. Even more so on this path you've chosen.